Welcome once again to my channel. In today's tutorial session, we are basically going to look at the law of tort, and basically want to look at the tort of battery. Battery is almost the same but slightly different from the tort of assault. We discussed assault, and basically let us now look at the law regarding battery. Battery is basically a circumstance where the actions of the defendant caused an injury or actually caused an injury or caused the apprehension of injuries on the plaintiff. Here, what you have to know is that there are several things or several ingredients that you must prove when you are alleging the tort, when you are alleging that actually battery was committed. Number one, you must prove that there was an act. You must prove that there was an act that constituted to battery. Two, you must show that there was an intention to do that act. Three, you must prove that there was body contact. The person reached you. For example, he hit you on head. That constitutes the battery. And it was intentional. Four, you must prove that you did not consent to the act. That is also important, that you need to appreciate. Lack of consent, the issue of consent, the element of consent is very, very important here. You cannot, your claim will not succeed when there is that element of consent is not critically proven. You must critically show that there was lack of consent. You did not consent to the act that was committed to you. That act still must be hostile. So here, basically, the difference between battery and the assault is on the issue of body contact. In the law regarding assault, there is no body contact. But in the law regarding battery, you must prove an element of contact. You must prove that there was contact. That is very, very important. Basically, those are the elements that you need to prove with regard to the tort of battery. You need to know that you must always appreciate the difference, so that when a problem question comes, you're able to critically view and appreciate the facts and know that what is here is battery, not assault, or what is here is assault, not battery, regarding on how you have appreciated the ingredients of each. I have a video on assault, then appreciate this video on battery. The two will basically guide you on that. The case on battery, we have the case of Njereketa versus Director of Medical Services. It's a case of 1950, East Africa, at page 60. That case discusses the tort of assault, the tort of battery, not assault. Njereketa versus Director of Medical Services. In that case, the brief facts of that case are that Njereketa had an injury on his leg, and this leg was to be amputated. But as a result, when he contacted the medical personnel, they agreed to amputate him. But, excuse me. But later on, he discussed the matter with his father. When he discussed the matter with his father said, no, your leg cannot be amputated. That is very, very important. Your leg cannot be cannot be amputated. But then thereafter, his leg was amputated. He actually he withdrew the consent because he had earlier consented to the amputation, but now he withdrew the consent. So when he withdrew the consent, but they went on and amputated him. Then he sued for battery. After suing for battery, of course, he succeeded, but the damages that were awarded to him were minimal. Were minimal on the fact that the amputation was meant for his own interest, because there is that jurisprudence on the alleged torts committed to patients. When the doctors work on a patient, he should not later come on and say that there was battery. Yet it was to the best interest of the patient. That's why Njereketa's damages were minimal because of that regard, because the amputation was to the best interest of the patient. That is very, very important. You also have to go and appreciate the case of Mibur versus Dyer. It's a case of 1970, East Africa, at page 315. That case also discusses the tort of battery. Still, the case of Faura versus Running discusses the aspect of battery. It's a case of 1959, volume 1 QB at page 426. The three cases so far will actually guide you on that aspect. Then we need to also appreciate at what stage, what is the time limitation with regard to bringing up an action. When can you bring an action of tort, and how is such action, such cause of action different from the other side of negligence, because they are slightly the same, but this time when you are appreciating the law of tort, even negligence is a tort, though it is it has it is a we shall have time and look at it in depth of it, so that we appreciate it far from this tutorial. So, but basically, I'm going to give you a case that brings out the aspect of limitation as to time when one is supposed to bring up an action of tort and negligence. You have to go and read a case of Letang versus Cooper. The case of Letang versus Cooper, it's a case of 1965, volume 1 QB at page 232. This was an individual. He was on holiday, and he was just lying on sunbathing on in the parking. So the defendant was driving out of the parking. So he drove over his legs, and his legs were injured. So he later sued after 5-6 years. After 5 years, he sued for the tort of negligence and the tort of battery. And as you have to know that when you appreciate, actually, the entire jurisprudence is provided for under Section 3 of Limitation Act. The limitation as to time of when one should bring up an action under tort, and the limitation as to time when one should bring up an action under negligence. Section 3, subsection 1, actually, of Limitation Act, it brings out very well, where we have 3 years and 6 years. That is very, very important. You need to appreciate it, okay? Otherwise, I believe with that, insight on the law regarding battery. I believe when you're reading, you do more highlights. It can help you. Once again, I encourage you to share with your friends. I keep on emphasizing the art of learning together. Law school, you can't be in law school and you think you're alone. You need your friend, you need your neighbor, you need any person at law school matters. You need to learn from each other. So I want us to embrace the art of learning together. So that's why I'm saying share, subscribe, like, please comment. When you leave your comments, I know your clarifications, I know what you want, I know where you need guidance, and I'll be able to guide you. Thank you so much.